Do you and Barbara Lee just have a constant text chain like, no, you were right. No, you were right. No, you were right again.
We should.
What did we just find? The leader, former leader of Afghanistan. What did you say yesterday? He's in Abu Dhabi. What's reported this morning?
The UAE has confirmed he's in that country.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I lived in the United Arab Emirates for 10 years.
Yeah.
And I lived in Abu Dhabi, which is arguably the Beverly Hills of the Middle East.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
I watched Sex in the City too. I know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That movie was made there. Fast and Furious 8 or something like that. But one thing I've learned in the land of the multiple Bentley dealerships is that, and that was just in my neighborhood, 3 Bentley dealerships.
Yeah.
That when you have real money and you're going to take it, you don't go to Dubai. You go to Abu Dhabi, which is the leadership of that country. And I had actually tweeted this out the other day. Someone said, "Where's Ashraf Ghani?" I think it was Monday I tweeted this. And I said, he is in the Emirates Palace Hotel in Abu Dhabi, down at the beach bar, having the Palace High Tea, which has gold flake on top of the coffee or your tea.
Yeah.
And the only way I would know that was I have seen many leaders holed up inside that hotel. It is literally a palace that was built and turned over as a hotel. Mm-hmm. And, at $2,000 or $3,000 a night. He's not going to hide up in the Burj, Dubai or the Burj Khalifa in Dubai. He's not. He's going to go down where the money is and where all the despots hide away.
Yeah, Malcolm, let's cut to the chase, because you know this better than anybody. I've seen you all over TV, obviously, people asking for your expertise on this. I'm just a layperson. And Donald Trump only dealing with the terrorists, only dealing with the Taliban, releasing 5,000 Taliban prisoners, including the new leader, to make a deal without including the Afghan government. Is this any surprise to anybody that this deal does not... They made a deal to hand Afghanistan to the Taliban. I don't know to what degree Putin or Russia is involved once again, like what we did with the Kurds. But tell us what happened here, because this does not seem like a shock.
Well, first off, wipe Putin and the Kurd and the Russians out of your mind. They have no influence there. They're not there.
Okay.
When you're talking about that part of the world, you're talking about Southwest Asia. You don't have to have outside influence at all.
Right. Come
and make the decisions for you. Because when you've been, working in the camel market since you were age 2, and somebody comes in there and thinks they're going to out-hustle you, you're going to show them what you're really good at. And that's the camel market. And that's a metaphor that we use where they actually do have camel markets. And you cannot just run in there and think that you're going to beat them at their game. I went to, full disclosure, I went to Afghanistan in early 2002, just a week after the Tora Bora operation. I was on an intelligence collection operation there. And I learned very, very quickly what works and what does not work in Afghanistan. When you come down with a group of special forces and a bunch of wild Northern Alliance guys into an area that actually hates you, they're not going to talk to you. But when I came there as a very respectful, at the time, American Muslim. And I met with one of the tribal sheikhs, actually an imam, who was the last person to see Osama bin Laden alive. No one spoke to this man. And all he wanted to do was see who I was, get the cut of my jib, drink tea with me, read the Quran in Arabic, sing nasheed songs, right, and realize that I'm a man. And he spoke to me and told me things he had never told anyone, like where Osama bin Laden was going and what he was intending to do, which we all found out later was moved to Pakistan, right? So this cultural buy-in is a blind spot that Americans have. I actually requested to go back on active duty in the run-up to the invasion of Iraq. I was training special operations people in prisoner handling and foreign languages at the tune of $10,000 per program. And I literally had a letter from the Secretary of the Navy who said, we have no additional foreign language requirements for the occupation of one of the largest countries of the Middle East because they believed we would be greeted as liberators.
Right.
What's happening in Afghanistan is totally on the decision of the people of Afghanistan. They cut deals with the Taliban the minute that they heard we were negotiating to secretly turn the country over. We had cut the government of Afghanistan out of the decision making, and the tribal sheikhs and leaders who actually run the country, right down to the wali, the senior male of every village.
That's when Afghanistan was lost, when they heard that we made a deal with the Taliban. I mean, it's like, this is not okay.
And
you said, why are so many shocked by the fall to the Taliban? You said because Americans are culturally stupid. Hard facts, people deal with it. I mean,
we are.
Yeah,
we are culturally stupid. And you've got to admit it to yourself. Maybe your listeners are interested in what goes on in the greater world and the perspectives of other peoples, but the decision makers and many people in government are not. And I know when I went there in January 2002, literally just after New Year's, by the time I had returned, turned in my reports and started preparing for other operations, I was told to prepare for Iraq. That's February 1st, 2003.
The first time we lost Afghanistan, right, when we diverted.
1 year before Iraq invasion. They had no interest in Afghanistan after Tora Bora for the most part, even though we were continuing combat operations. And they had gone to their safe haven in Pakistan. The war was lost in January 2002.
You said on Twitter, hard-ass intel and assessment, America does not own Afghanistan. They're people with their own culture, tribal politics, religious values. They made the choice about their governance. The Afghan street chose the Taliban to make peace. We won't like the results. Deal with it. And you said Afghanistan is reset back to 2001 or 1843. Will you choose? The only real question is, will they allow ISIS terrorists to plan to project terror from their land? You said you think that's unlikely. Tell us why.
It is unlikely because ISIS Khorasan, or ISIS-K as we know them, they are a cult. They are the fifth iteration of a cult in the history of Islam. And the four other ones were put down pretty brutally. They view the Taliban as a bunch of essentially Americans. They view them as non-Muslims who need to be sterilized and neutralized. ISIS has clashed with them. ISIS has worked with, not ISIS, the Taliban has clashed with them. The Taliban has worked with us to identify their base camps to stop their operations. You're going to see maybe a slightly more optically sensitive Taliban now, where they want the country to run. They want people to actually bring industry to the country and to get deals with the Chinese to come in and build roads and mine minerals. But for the most part, they are going to go back to what they were, which was a hardline religious country. And if you got a problem with that, you have a problem with the way that they treat women, man, I don't want to tell you about this country called Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, thank you. Let's not even start with 9/11 again. But anyway, so give me your take on this, Malcolm. What as you just sort of alluded to, the Taliban sought to calm fears in the West, particularly in the U.S., that their return to power would provide a safe harbor for terrorists and backsliding on women's rights. The spokesperson for the Taliban said, "I'd like to assure the international community, including the U.S., that nobody will be harmed in Afghanistan. You will not be harmed from our soil." He reassured those who'd fought against the Taliban, as well as interpreters and contractors, they had been pardoned. He said he did not want Afghani youth to leave, describing them as the country's assets. He also insisted the Taliban welcomes free and independent media. Okay, how much of this do you buy? What do you think?
I buy part of it simply because I'm looking at it from the military's perspective. I don't think they have much manpower in Afghanistan right now. I think that manpower is just starting to flow out of their safe havens in the mountains of Pakistan. And to tell you the truth, if we put 5,000 combat troops in Kabul, we could cleanse Kabul in a matter of a couple of days to where the entire city would be secure. It'll cost us troops. American soldiers will die, but we have the capacity to break the Taliban. They know this. They have a deal in place, the best deal in the world. Donald Trump gave them everything. Guaranteed we would lose. Last January, Trump secretly tried to get all U.S. forces out of Afghanistan by January 1st. And only the Pentagon said we would have to dump billions of dollars worth of equipment. And that spoke to his inner greediness. And that's the only reason that this didn't happen on January 1st. The Taliban were always going to walk in. That deal was cut. The men of Afghanistan who make the decisions have spoken here.
Yeah.
What happens with the women? I certainly hope we can establish a beachhead and fly a lot of people out.
Yeah. I have personally offered to house that super hot first female Afghani fighter pilot. I don't know if you've seen her, but I give and I give.
Thing,
I did hardly notice that she's super hot. She's the first Afghani female fighter pilot.
And I don't understand how, like in South Vietnam, all those pilots didn't jump into their airplanes, put their kids in it, and fly out to the United Arab Emirates.
Yeah.
I have no earthly idea.
Yeah. Well,
we should be encouraging that right now, guys. Get in them planes and leave.
Yep.
By the way, thank you for this stupid Saigon and Vietnam comparison. You said, knock it off. The fall of Saigon was a far larger scale humanitarian human disaster. Watch the footage. Hundreds of thousands tried to get on flights, warships, boats, and helicopters. Hundreds of military aircraft and helicopters were commandeered and or dumped into the sea after flying to ships. Afghanistan's bad, but you just said, but geez. I mean, yeah.
Okay, history lesson for those of you who aren't my age, which is 60 years old. Okay, I was 15 at the time, from a military family with members who had been in Vietnam. So I was watching very carefully what was going on there. It was quite the spectacle. 2 million people simultaneously tried to leave Vietnam. Aircraft were flying nonstop, round trip. Every aircraft practically in the U.S. Air Force inventory was flying in and out of that country. Private airlines. We had to move 1,000 babies from orphanages in Operation Baby Lift, including an aircraft, a military aircraft that crashed and killed 176 of them. I mean, it was 800,000 Vietnamese would get on every available small boat, fishing boat, rowing skiff, and go out into the ocean to U.S. warships. Hundreds of aircraft and helicopters flew to the Philippines and crashed on U.S. warship decks and had to be pushed over the side. It cannot be compared.
Yeah. And by the way,
be compared.
This went on for a day. The airport's secured. The flights are leaving hourly now. It's just, and the head of the U.S. Central Command visited the airport Tuesday, which he described as secure and open to civilian air traffic. He said in meetings with Taliban leaders, senior leaders in Doha on Sunday, I cautioned them against interference in our evacuation, made it clear to them any attack would be met with overwhelming force in defense of our forces. A Taliban official earlier Tuesday announced a general amnesty for all in Afghanistan, urged women to join the government. The head of the spokesman of the group was interviewed by a female reporter on Afghanistan's largest private broadcaster, something that would not have been possible during the previous Taliban regime. They've also announced that girls, this is on the other side, will have to wear hijabs to attend school. I mean, it's hard to say. You're right. Like they are scared of us. They do want us out of there. So you're like, how long are they? Is this just on their good behavior while we get out of there? Or, it's hard to say, right? I heard one expert, Malcolm, say they don't care about the international community and sanctions and this and that. Like,
they don't.
Yeah.
But they do want to make money this time. You have to understand that the guys who are now the senior leadership of the Taliban are my age, right? They were 40 years old. When I went to Afghanistan, I was 41 years old. I retired from the military and become an intelligence contractor. These guys had already had 20 years of combat experience, and they had come and fought, had come from the slums of Peshawar, Pakistan, or the Northwest Frontier Province. They had studied in these religious schools, the madrasas, and what they brought to Afghanistan for the average Afghan was stability, because they didn't mind people who were religious, because the average Afghan is very, very, very orthodox, very religious. And they did not interfere in their tribal affairs. They gave them a system of justice that they could understand that came from the Quran, right? This is why that imam spoke to me, all right? He saw me as someone who understood him, all right? You come in there and you go, well, we're going to go back and establish the Soviets tried to put a Russian-style justice system in there, made sure that women didn't wear hijabs. That is their culture. The women there accept the culture. The burqa's a little out there, right? Most women didn't appreciate the burqa, because they had centuries of already being relatively fundamentalist Islamists. Yeah. But what the Taliban brought, though, was they eliminated alcohol. They eliminated vice and, the vices there. They got rid of the entire heroin trade in Afghanistan. It went down to zero. It exploded under us. Actually, I think it was 77,000 tons, and now the current rate every year since then is 163,000 tons for 20 years of poppies. So, I mean, the Taliban were hardcore on that stuff.
Yeah.
The locals like
every party's got
that.
its pooper.
Mhm.
Pardon? Sorry. Okay, real quick before you go, Taliban has seized biometric devices with years' worth of data on Afghan fighters who helped the United States, increasing the urgency on U.S. forces to get these people to safety. Hide devices contain identifying biometric data, such as iris scans and fingerprints, as well as biographical information, and are used to access large centralized databases. An Army Special Operations veteran says it's possible the Taliban may need additional tools to process the hide data, but expressed concerns that Pakistan would assist with this. The Taliban doesn't have the gear to use that data, but Pakistan does. Just your take on all that. That's your area of expertise, but I mean, we got to get these people out, right?
ISIS seized biometrics also, and they use them to execute people. I don't think the Taliban are into that. I think the Taliban right now need to consolidate control. The country is essentially being run by squads of 5 and 6 guys who are in various places. You know what they don't need? A U.S.-backed Taliban-like insurgency made up of ex-soldiers. They, I think, are going to try to bring themselves moderately into the world in alignment with Pakistan and the Chinese. Yeah. U.S., Russia, we're going to have no influence there. So I do think we need to get those people out, though. And I think the Taliban might be smart enough to let us take them out so they don't have to put up with this.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Well, hopes and prayers on that. Malcolm, thanks so much. This is the 5 minutes you weren't on television this week. So thank you for giving us those extra 5 minutes. All right. 15.
All right, back to my disco party.